This week's Landstrat decree on the Libra server reduced production costs by 25% for Tradies members, which created the perfect opportunity for yours truly to create something he's always wanted, a Spice Melange empire. In any game I play, markets are what I generally enjoy focusing on the most, and while Dune Awakening doesn't have a robust economy yet, I figured I could carve out a niche for myself, specialize in processing sand, and make my riches that way. Turns out, I was right. The idea was simple. I purchased spice sand from other players with my Spice Melange at a ratio of 49 sand per 1 melange, which is a slightly better rate than the 50-to-1 return you get from a large refinery. Anyone who didn't have a large refinery or who wasn't aligned with a tradies was better off trading their sand with me. All I had to do was bank the sand, focus on the water, and manage the logistics of trade. With the 25% cost reduction, every batch I processed at a large refinery yielded 47 melange of profit from the 200 that I crafted. I knew ahead of time that water was going to be a big hurdle, but I calculated with 13 large wind traps and enough time, I'd have more than enough water to manage my crafting needs. Now I know what you're thinking, why not just bring in advanced death steals and bodies? Because I'm not a barbarian, and if you think this honest businessman trying to earn an honest living is going to slaughter hundreds of NPCs to extract water from their corpses, you've got another thing coming. With the water problem solved, it was time to turn to the trade setup. Time and efficiency matter so much in the Spice game, so I created a small area in my base that would maximize throughput and minimize risk. A small pentashield entry combined with open chests allowed for bulk transfer of resources. I even set up a proxy buggy in my base to quickly stash away sand as needed. Most customers were trusting, although a few did request manual transfers and were deeply skeptical of my legitimacy. As I was still an up-and-coming trader, I didn't let this bother me too much. Trust has to be earned. Besides, it really didn't take too long for 5-star reviews to pop up and people to start singing my praises across all of the land. Initially, trades were somewhat small, a few thousand sand at a time here and there from fresh DD players looking to make something of themselves. Come inside. Through here. Give me 1 second. Alright.
All in that.
Oh, yeah, sweet. Your melange is in there. You grab it from the chest. Going into this, I had no sense of scale regarding the operation or interest levels from other players. I was taking a bit of a risk, but after advertising my services to the entire server via the Deep Desert chat, it didn't take long for the spice to start flowing. Ah, so that's all of it, yeah?
That's all of it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, you're free to leave.
I'll bring the last batch.
Yeah, all good.
I'll be back. You can hold him prisoner.
Ah, you're good. I quickly realised the compounding effects of customer loyalty. Just a few days in and I was inundated with orders and deliveries. A midweek patch switched the PvE zone to the middle of E, changing the spice sitch bigly. I decided to build a second processing facility and set up shop right on the front lines, meters away from the action, but far closer to the spice and hopefully the customers. I found that deliveries here were more likely to be in bulk, and it wasn't long until I had over 60,000 sand to process. This meant a second refinery had to get up and running, and from here onward, both were processing sand 24/7 to keep up with the rate of deliveries I was receiving. My small landing pads even had traffic issues at times, with multiple loads coming through simultaneously. Multi-party trading wasn't easy, but I started to become a bit of an expert in my field, and I knew how to handle it. The biggest singular delivery I took over the course of the week was a touch over 50,000 sand. For context, this processes into 1,333 melange, and it cost me 1,020 melange to purchase, netting me a profit of 313 melange for services rendered. Not a bad day's pay for a glorified industrial hearse driver. As my empire grew and my reserves built, I decided to start selling the excess purple product I had for Solari. Diversification is always a good plan, and with more melange than sense, I felt that offloading a little was the right play. Keen-eyed viewers might have realised my Solari increasing throughout this video. I ended up with a touch under 5 million, selling roughly 1,000 Melange for anywhere from 4,500 to 6,000 Solari a piece. Prices eventually dropped by the end of the week to the 3,000s, which I still think is insanely high, considering the low prices of highly sought after blueprints and the lack of real utility fiat currency has right now. I purchased several things throughout the week with my newfound wealth. Lasguns, the Kane's Cut Array, and a shiny new Ornithopter after an unfortunate farming accident meant that my original Thopter had to go into the shop for a full service. Deliveries grew, business was booming, and I even started to hand out free residue because, quite frankly, it was a burdensome resource to hold on to. I even started to celebrate with clients when given the opportunity. Celebratory rocket. That's the wrong weapon. That was embarrassing. There we go. Everything ran rather well on the production end of things, except for one small situation on the factory floor that caused spice to spill out from the processing facility. Thankfully, the incident was caught early, and every last gram of sand was accounted for, with production resuming quickly thereafter. Additionally, the whereabouts of one farmer, who'd been delivering product to me quite consistently over the week, is currently unclear. My insurance company has reviewed all of the available evidence in the case, but feels that there's not enough information to determine for sure if he perished or not, and as a result, they're refusing to pay out. They're also questioning the safety measures I had in place, but that's a story for another day. As the end of the decree loomed, I took my final orders and pushed through the last loads of spice sand. With the Coriolis storm heading towards my facilities, it was time to pack up and seek shelter back in Haga Basin. This would give me time to reflect on my venture and, more importantly, crunch the numbers. In business, numbers matter more than anything else, so how did I fare after a week of wheeling and dealing? I tracked every speck of sand that crossed my warehouses, and I was honestly impressed at the scale of the operation I'd established. I had processed a total of 96 cycles when all was said and done. That's 730,000 sand, which is enough to fill up 219 scout ornithopters. 96 cycles results in 19,200 Melange, with 730,000 sand costing me around 14,900 Melange, meaning I took home a profit of 4,300 Melange. For one man working alone, I'm more than happy with the results. Since one body yields 45 litres of water and 5,400 litres were required for this operation, I shipped in a total of 120 bodies. I'd like to take a minute to thank my buggy for assisting me with this portion of my enterprise. I really couldn't have done it without you. I built my buggy a ramp as a thank you, allowing it to, if only for a moment, feels what it's like to actually fly. Now I am unsure of exactly how much Melange I ended up selling, but I'd say 1,000 or so is a good estimate, since I spent quite a lot of Solari and ended up with just shy of 5 million. Given the rates I was offering, this seems like a fair estimate. If I'd had sold all of it at the rates that I was selling, we'd be looking at around 20 million Solari in profit, give or take. At the start of the week, I was confident that the service I was offering had great utility, but I wasn't sure others would realise the benefit and take me up on my deal. I'd estimate that around 25 different people made deliveries to me throughout the week, and 20% of those players were responsible for 80% of the sand I received. There's very little economic activity in Dune Awakening, and I think part of the reason for that is because there's a lot of friction involved in trade. I did my absolute best to minimise that friction with multiple bases and support for bulk transfers, but it still felt difficult and clumsy. No one stole from me during any of these trades, but it was a genuine risk. I actually even shortchanged one player accidentally, but he called me out and I gave him a little bit extra for the inconvenience. The decree was the main reason I dabbled with this venture. It was a good opportunity for me to accumulate some wealth in a game that has few areas of specialization to exploit economically. I also established a bunch of goodwill with various players, which I hope will assist me over the next few weeks with a few things I have planned for the deep desert on my server. I doubt future attempts at this would be as lucrative. Lower player numbers, no discounted production rate, and more access to large refineries all work against this becoming an ongoing concern for me. Additionally, I now have more Solari and Melange than I know what to do with, so it's probably a good time for me to focus on something else in-game. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to subscribe for more Dune Awakening content in future.